the foundation of a lasting software business is your retention rate of your customers. And then we look at that metric as more important than growth. If you have high retention, then you can build year over year and not have to like kind of start over. So generally, like ProLine's a high retention business, and we will only invest in companies that can then demonstrate that metric. But underneath that retention metric, you got to have the product, you got to have the service, and you got to have all the personality and personnel to actually like retain those customers and produce that metric. So, and generally, like when we think about like how are we going to build this business, it starts at retention, which is basically everything that your customers want.
Yeah.
So,
100%. I think so. In my announcement on our side, I went through for the benefit of our customers and partners. I went through the three major sources of funding: venture capital, private equity, and growth equity, and how these different models, and I think you guys have taken it even beyond the typical growth equity firm, but how these different investment models typically think about their investments. And I think kind of the summary is VCs are all about the growth metric. That's the core thing they focus on. I would say private equity is all about maybe the profitability metric and like the value and maybe just like growth evaluation. And then growth equity is all about the retention. It's all about, which is really good news for the contractors that have put their faith in us, because and backed up by you guys, you're not putting some pressure on us to just go and get, a ton of new people. You're putting primarily, more than anything else, pressure on us to serve the people that are on the platform today. And as that group grows, making sure that we're retaining, there's options. People can go other places. So retention means that we are properly serving and supporting.
So AJ, clearly you had an aha moment when you said Creative Code looks like the right kind of partner for us. And Travis, when you think about investing, oftentimes the investor will say, look, you're betting on the jockey, not on the horse. What was it about AJ and his team that gave you that aha moment that said, this is a guy, this is a company, this is a business model that we want to invest in?
Yeah, so generally we're looking for like founding teams, young teams that are ambitious in what they want to accomplish, but at the same time have the self-awareness that we need to balance that ambition with serving our customers well and serving our own investors well, where we're not spending beyond our means. So in general, like what we generally have as an investment sort of metric combination, we call it, is we're looking for companies that are growing really fast. And our definition of that is like 2, 3, 4x, 5x a year over year growth. In your case, you're growing really fast. But that metric combined with this idea of your run rate revenue is greater than the total cash you've burned since inception. And generally in the world of like early stage software companies, it's really difficult to find those two metrics combined. Venture capitalists will always have kind of the high growth side of the metric, but their burn rate, the cash they're burning every year to achieve that growth, is very high and pretty much always greater than their revenue. So you've had this sort of setup that we look for in general, which is a efficiently run, fast-growing business that shows you that the team has the ambition to build something awesome, but at the same time is disciplined to do it what we feel is the right way. And that was a really good setup for us. And we spend a lot of time in Creative Code. We do research, we go outbound, we try to find companies like ProLine. So we first discovered ProLine back in 2023 and have sort of stayed on top of it. And as AJ is saying, like Ashley reached out to you like a few times and you ghosted her. But eventually we found a way to connect. And what's awesome about what we do is if we connect with a founder that thinks like us, it's like a great like product market fit type of kind of scenario when you have that first meeting, because generally what we're pitching should be something that you believe in.
Yeah. So let me pick up on that thought a second. Product market fit.
Yeah.
One thing that's been unique, AJ, about you is understanding the market, the ins and outs of the market.
Yep.
How did you acquire that knowledge? Because that's clearly something that Travis was looking for as well, and is unique to your business.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. because there's one thing I want to touch on real briefly on what Travis said to kind of sum up, because what you said is last thing about the about that what we've raised, what our revenue is higher than what we've raised, and I think that there's a lot of value to us as a founding team, but I want to translate that a little bit for anyone watching that might be a customer and has less familiarity with this. What that really translates to is as we're growing and as we're raising, we're retaining more ownership internally on the internal team than would typically be normal for a tech startup. And so on top of our alignment, I think that's also something that is a little bit different in that the internal team has still a lot of a majority control at this stage of the business and the direction of the business. So I just wanted to translate that a little bit for anyone watching. But I think that then translates into product market fit.
It does, because that's a very unique quality. And then when you add it to product market fit, how do you put those two pieces together for excellence for the business?
100%. I mean, I think this has always been our superpower from day one, is that I built V1 of ProLine inside my co-founder's business, and John did have to head out, so he wasn't able to be here today, my co-founder John. But I built version 1 of the platform inside of his business, and so I mean, talk about like being truly like building to the problem. That's the foundation of everything that we've done, and then as we've grown, everything was run past John. So John became the filter to make sure that what we're building actually makes sense for the contractor. And then, of course, we started involving more and more of our customers into that process. And so as you know, we've just continued to push that. And then we also have an idea board, which is very unique. Nobody else in our space has this. We have an idea board that all our customers can go add ideas to, vote on ideas. And so this has been a tool that's enabled us to really stay close to the customer, even as the number of customers becomes very difficult for us to communicate one-on-one from a product standpoint. We're still able to, at scale, collect that feedback. And then we just, thanks to Creative Co., recently brought on a new product manager who's then even doubling down on that. And so, the product market fit has been absolutely key, because there was a very tangible moment where we sort of got to this critical mass of features as a CRM platform, which you have to do. If you're a CRM platform, it's you are a collection of features at the end of the day. And so you have to hit this sort of critical mass. And I remember us hitting that about a little over a year ago, and that's when we've grown incredibly fast over the last year because of that. But that's something that's super important for us to stay focused on, and I think it goes back to our philosophy here. It's like a lot of companies will go raise capital, and all of a sudden all of the priorities change, right? And that's not what we're doing here. We're doubling down on further dialing in that product market fit, further dialing in building the tools that our customers need to be successful, or even take it to the next level of success.